We are pleased to present James Hunter. We're going to be talking some really interesting, let's face it, survival technologies, for lack of a better way to put it, because in the long run, this is the guy you want to know really well when everything has gone oops. James, you headlined, or I shouldn't say headline, you were tail end Charlie on NPI yesterday.
Last but not least.
Very much not least. But the best part was there was 29 presentations, all of them pretty exciting, a couple of highs, a couple of lows, but you guys were very serious at presenting once again the fact that you've taken the state of the art and ELTs and the like and just pushed it as far as it will go for the present time. Tell me what's the latest and greatest.
So I have two products with me today.
Okay.
I have the ELT 5000, which is a distress tracking ELT, and our ELT 4000S, which is a survival ELT. The ELT DT was created in response to the MH370 disappearance back in 2014. When the aircraft went off radar, there was no trace of it whatsoever. At that time, ICAO decided they had to do something to make sure that it could start tracking aircraft in that similar situation. Out of that came the ELT DT. It's part of a larger system called GADS, which is a global aerospace distress and safety system, always a mouthful, GADS, which is an intent to be able to track aircraft. But how industry has responded is they've created a box that will replace the existing ELT with a distress tracking function.
And this is pretty much, just slap it. It's a step-in technology at this point.
So it's a little bit more complex. This is an active box. A traditional ELT does not work until after impact.
Right.
So it's passive. This is active. It works with autonomous distress trigger, an ADT, and the autonomous distress trigger is the brains of the operation. The ELT is just waiting for a trigger from that. So the ADT will monitor aircraft systems, and it'll monitor the aircraft trajectory, and if it believes that the continued course would end up in an accident, it will tell the ELT to switch on. And then you have the in-flight tracking of that before the end of the flight. And that's the primary difference between MH370 and what this technology will do.
Interesting. It's amazing in this day and age when you consider what we know around the world, the surveillance and so forth, that we could lose an airplane and lose hundreds of people. And it cannot be allowed to happen again. As a pilot who's flown around the world and in some really weird spots, yeah, I could see some aircraft disappearing in some really bad areas, but an aircraft in scheduled service in an air traffic environment being monitored and disappearing, unbelievable. So this is the last step in the change of preventing and saying not one more.
This is certainly technology that's coming at the right time.
Outstanding.
I've been in the ELT business for over 20 years, and I have to admit that 20 years ago, I thought ELTs would be long gone, but it's taken time to move the industry to this point. So right now, the mandate for this is Jan 1, 2023, and it's
coming quick.
Yes, very quick. It's commercial aircraft at this time, although there is some business jet operators looking to equip their own aircraft. And also, this box also has full lithium containment.
Okay.
So that's another important aspect. Last few years, we've had trouble getting aircraft certified with lithium ELTs, which was the reason for the product we discussed last year, which is ELT 4000, which uses alkaline. But for us to maintain, to reach the temperatures and the performance, we need to go back to lithium. And this is full containment.
Interesting. So what's the operational capability? How long will you be able to track this in the event of an event?
Yes, so 24 hours is the traditional ELT time. So up to 24 hours, there's different aspects about tracking. It's usually the end of flight, to the end of the flight, and once that end of flight occurs, the ELT will kick in and work for the remainder of the battery life, depending on how long it's been tracked for. The important thing is it's tamper-proof, so the pilots can't pull any breakers or switch anything off, and it can only be reset by the same method it was set off. So if it was set off manually, it can be reset. But if the trigger sets off the ELT, only the trigger can reset it.
But the data is still continuous, isn't it?
So if the flight path
Okay.
trajectory changes back to one that's normal, the trigger can switch it back, reset the ELT.
There you go. Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
That's a heck of a box.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And as I understand it, you've got some of the big names already in your corner.
Boeing, Embraer so far. We're talking with other OEMs. Originally, we thought it would only be commercial carriers, but we're talking to several business jet manufacturers, who think that some of their jets may fall into that same category, Part 135 operators. So they're looking at it too.
Now, some of the major companies that are carrying the CEOs and people who are high value and
Yes.
literally critical to the future of the company, they've got to take every chance they can to
Yeah.
make sure they understand where their people
Right.
are and what's happened to them.
Exactly.
So that makes perfect sense.
Yes.
So I imagine you guys are talking to the Gulfstreams and the Bombardiers of this
Indeed.
world and having fun conversations.
Yes, always.
There you go.
Yes.
Outstanding. Talk to me about the 4000 series. This thing
So-
really interests me.
So
because
this
of,
is our 4000S Survival ELT.
yeah, Mikkel had talked to me about this a little bit some weeks ago, and it was pretty intriguing. Fill me in.
Yeah, so survival ELTs are complementary to these automatic fixed ELTs.
Okay.
Automatic ELTs find the location of a crash, whereas survival ELTs find survivors. So this is cabin mounted, and the intent, if an aircraft ditches, for example, survivors can take this outside. It's water activated. They can immerse it. It will float and activate. Has water sensors and will activate.
Okay.
And the antenna can be deployed. So what's exciting about this is we've went away from lithium batteries again.
Okay.
This is using the alkaline cells that were similar to the ELT 4000. Right now there's legacy ELTs, survival ELTs that are being obsoleted, and we think this is the perfect time for this product to make an impact in the market. We're currently working with Boeing. We should be certified with Boeing in a matter of weeks. We should have TSO certification this month. And we're just ready to start taking orders and selling ELTs.
My goodness. And what kind of target market do we have there?
So again, this is commercial airlines.
Okay.
Most commercial aircraft are required to have an automatic fixed
Right.
and at least one survival.
Okay.
So it's the same market.
Interesting. Well, that's an intriguing looking device. So, airplane comes to some type of negative event. You've got somebody who has survived and is trying to get attention.
Yes.
How do they deploy this? What is their first step?
So this will float.
Okay.
So it floats in water. Traditionally, ELTs are water sensors.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just immerse it in water, it will start activating. But there's also an on-off switch that can be manually activated if you're on land, for example.
Okay.
But traditionally, these were for ditching events.
Okay. Is there any kind of lighting or any kind of alert on it that would allow somebody who's in some distress to be able to find it and see where it is?
So the location, it has a built-in GPS.
Gotcha.
So the transmission will send the GPS coordinates.
Right. But there's no nothing on there to notify a survivor where it is or what it's doing?
So there's lights that will come on when it's activating. There's
Gotcha.
LEDs.
That's what I was asking.
So
Okay,
LEDs
perfect.
for activation, LEDs for self-testing.
Okay. And then just pull the tab and the antenna pops
Yes.
up and off you go.
Yeah, that's correct.
Interesting. Boy, that's an interesting piece of technology. At some point, I'm going to have to give you a call and try to get some imagery of Insight, because I'd be curious to see how something like that is put together. Now, the current scenario in which an ELT operates and the frequencies and the monitoring and so forth have been upgraded significantly over the years, especially with the intervention by KO and UN and so forth and so on. Is everything up to the task right now? Or
Yes, so there's actually a new satellite system, MEOSAR constellation, which is now, currently we're using geostationary satellites and low Earth orbit satellites. So if an ELT is activated, the geostationary satellite will see the signal and wait for confirmation from a low Earth orbit satellite to get position. But we have a new constellation now, which is MEOSAR, which is
right
in between the two, and you have more satellites looking at the place on Earth, so we have almost instantaneous position. You don't have to wait for those additional passes from a LEOSAR. So it does send the GPS coordinates, but if for some reason they're not sending coordinates, there's still immediate location of the device. And that's the latest in the,
Boy, that's fascinating.
evolution of the
That's
system.
fascinating. I'd love to follow up with you and Mikkel sometime in the future and get a little bit more info on how they're installed, where they're installed, and some of the operational data. It'd be interesting to see how that's all put together. Now, of course, we cannot ignore the fact that you folks have made significant inroads in business and commercial aviation, and especially since you also have on the recreational boating side, but
Yes.
also particularly interesting to me, to GA, is your EPIRB technologies.
Right.
And in this day and age, I can tell you as a helicopter operator, as somebody who's done pipeline patrol, maybe out in the boonies, and this, that, and the other, the concept of having something that literally fits in your pocket and you can walk out from wherever and have somebody know that you're going from A to B or where you are is particularly important.
Yes.
Any news on those fronts at all?
So what we're talking about is our personal locator beacons,
Yes.
which are handheld devices. So they're all rescue beacons. They all fit into the same package. ELTs for aircraft, EPIRBs for boat,
Right.
for marine applications, and PLBs for people.
Right.
So the handhelds, they be used for anything, as you say, any outdoor activity. It's manually activated, and it works the same way. It will send the GPS coordinates and help you locate. It's cheap insurance. Everyone should have one.
There you go. Well, it's not like, it's been amazing to watch the growth of this market, the technology involved, and more important, just how you've decided to tackle it. It's been fun to see. Where will we see the next developments? What does the future look like for your company?
So this is really the big development at the moment is the DT, getting this certified and getting into the system. As I say, Jan 1, 2023 is our deadline. Hopefully it won't get pushed. There's some discussion about moving that date, but it's 2023 right now.
Okay.
And we just look forward to getting ELT 4000, getting it our first customers and getting it installed.
Interesting stuff. All right, and where can people get more information on all this?
They can go to our website, it's ACRartex.com.
Very good. James, as always, fun to talk to you. This time for real. Last time we talked to
Yes,
you was a Zoom call in.
Pandemic era.
Oh man, I'm ready to be past all that, aren't you?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm already past it.
News Network's coverage of the 65th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from New Orleans, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Hi, Devin Gall here, one of your True Blue Power field service engineers.
Hi, I'm Ryan Reed with True Blue Power.
Think about how much better your back is going to feel when lifting 40 pounds less up here when changing the battery out.
As a pilot that flies behind these batteries, walking up to your aircraft knowing your engine's going to start every time is unlike any other battery.